So that's the question. Why do men come fast? And we don't know who it's from.
That's verbatim. Yeah, that's exactly.
That's it. Okay. All right. So, okay. Give me a second just to think about how to answer that one. Kia ora, I'm Simon Snook. I'm a sexual and reproductive health specialist. Some people are naturally programmed to come quite quickly, some are naturally programmed to come quite a lot longer. The average man will take about 2 to 3 minutes from beginning of penetration to ejaculation, and most people think it's going to be a lot longer than that. People get a very skewed view of how long you should last during penetrative sex and feel that what's happening to them in sex is way too short, because they're relying on the testimonies of friends or their own fears or pornography that they're watching, and they suddenly think that they're not performing the way they should. There are some medical conditions like infections of the prostate gland, other hormonal issues that may actually lead to it. But the bottom line is, if for you, you're coming too quickly and it's a genuine problem, the best way to help it is with medication, because what the medication can do is slow down that body clock. To a degree it is. One of the big misnomers when it comes to things like blue balls and ejaculation is that people imagine that the semen and the ejaculate comes from the balls, and it actually doesn't. So when you ejaculate, 99% of what's coming out of the body is actually produced by the prostate gland, which is much further upstream inside the pelvis rather than the balls themselves. So the feeling of blue balls isn't necessarily coming from the balls themselves, it's coming from increased swelling of the prostate gland as it's filling up with the ejaculatory fluid. So yes, there is a sensation of fullness that is relieved with ejaculation. The bottom line is that sensation can be relieved on your own. It doesn't have to require a partner to relieve it if you have an issue with it. Go and have a wank. That is an enormous question. Yeah, that's right. There you go. That's half of my work there, rolled up into one snappy question. Okay. There are many causes of erectile dysfunction, whether it's a psychological erectile dysfunction, because without the brain you can't have an erection, whether it's a problem with the wiring going to the penis, so whether there's a nerve issue, have they got a blood supply problem, or is the problem with the penis itself? One of the first screening questions that I use with anyone with erectile dysfunction to tell the difference between whether it's a psychological problem or a physical problem is, do you still get erections first thing in the morning? Or can you get erections if you're on your own, but the erections are a problem when you're having partnered sex? If you're still getting morning erections, or you can get a decent erection with masturbation but not with a partner, then the problem is almost always primarily coming from the brain and psychological origin. Whereas if, no matter what you're doing, the erections are not occurring, then it's almost certainly coming from a physical point of view. It's about decent communication, it's about understanding, it's about removing of any blame, and looking at other ways of enjoying sex and intimacy that don't involve penetration, that therefore don't require a fully hard penis. And so the simple trick that we use is we say to a couple, no penetrative sex for 6 weeks, but during that 6-week period of time, you are going to have intimacy. So for the first week, your intimacy will just be non-sexual massage and kissing or something like that. And we will slowly build up the intimacy over that course of time. It allows the person with the penis to not have to think about it needs to get hard to get in. And so they can enjoy just the things that they've enjoyed all the time and start to feel sexy, and the erection will start to waken itself up again because you're no longer thinking about the need for it. And by the time you get to week 6, the confidence in your erection generally tends to have come back by then. Viagra itself will not damage your ability to get an erection. Okay, so if you use it for a year and stop using it, you'll only be where you would have been had you not used it in the first place. So the issue isn't that you've damaged your ability to have an erection, but it might be that naturally your ability to get erections has been waning underneath, or there is a psychological issue that you've developed, a psychological dependence on the Viagra, and when your erection isn't coming on quite as quickly, because you're not taking it, you start to worry about that, which then interrupts that message from your brain to your penis to get hard. So what do you need to do? Well, firstly, you need to remove that pressure from yourself to have the perfect porn star erection. You need to look to enjoy intimacy and take the erection a bit more out of the picture and let things develop naturally. When it comes to sex, the human mind requires novelty, it requires things to be fresh, and it's the same with pornography. If you're using pornography, people, once they use it a lot, tend to have to keep moving from genre of pornography, looking for something fresh to give them the same turn on, which can then lead away from mainstream interests into quite unusual interests, and also can mean that it's very hard to replicate that within a partnered sex environment. The issues with that are you can lose the stimulation that you might experience from partner sex and therefore are able to enjoy that less. As much as you want to is healthy. There's a very long history of repression of masturbation, and people seeing it as, people say, oh, you go blind if you masturbate too much. I mean, it's all absolute rubbish. Basically, the better you know yourself sexually and you enjoy yourself sexually, the better sex will be for you.